The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. Two U.S. officials tells Reuters that Washington is readying more than $2 billion worth of military aid for Ukraine. It is expected to include longer-range rockets for the first time, as well as other munitions and weapons. Such rockets would allow Ukraine, which said it plans to retake all of its territory by force, to strike deeper into Russian-held territory. One of the officials says that around $1.7 billion from the package would come from a fund known as the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. This fund would allow President Joe Biden to get weapons from the industry rather than from U.S. stocks. The fund would be used to buy a longer-range weapon, which would allow Ukraine to hit targets that have been out of reach. The support from U.S. is expected to be announced as soon as this week. In reaction to that, the Kremlin says longer-range rockets reportedly included in the upcoming package of military aid from the U.S. to Ukraine would escalate the conflict but not change its course. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned that the looming escalation of tensions requires Russia to do more and to continue its special military operations. Peskov also told reporters that there are no plans for Russian President Vladimir Putin to hold talks with U.S. President Joe Biden. Peskov added that Russia wanted to preserve its last remaining nuclear treaty with the United States, despite what it called a destructive U.S. approach to arms control.
Пока никаких планов по переговорам Путина и Байдена нет. У нас главная цель – это продолжение специальной военной операции. Главная цель – это выполнить наши задачи, которые были обозначены главой государства.
The European Central Bank raised interest rates by a half point and explicitly signaled at least one more hike of the same magnitude next month. ECB President Christine Lagarde vowed that there's more to come, even as the European economy slows and the U.S. Federal Reserve eases its pace of increases. Lagarde speaks more on this in a news conference following the decision. Let's listen in.
Where we have consistency is consistency with the communication that we had back in December and with any communication that I have expressed ever since. And it's totally consistent with the view that we reached in a very, very large consensus today, that it should be 50 this time around. It is intended to be 50 in March. Now you will say, well, yes, but what about after March? Does that mean that you have reached the pinnacle or the peak? No. No, no, no. We know that we have ground to cover. We know that we are not done. What we are saying is that as we will receive projections, we will need to assess what rates, what level, at what pace it will be needed in order to do the two things which in my view are embedded in my expression, stay the course. The first one is to raise significantly into too restrictive levels, and two, stay there for sufficiently long so that we are confident that at those rates we will actually deliver the 2% objective medium term that we have set for ourselves and which is delivering on our mandate. So those were the themes that we debated. I have to tell you that there was general agreement on the fact that the 50 basis point this time around and the 50 basis point in March were legitimate on the basis of, particularly in March, of the underlying inflation pressure that we know will continue. I think where there was discussion and not full agreement was on the way in which we communicate it. But on the overall monetary policy statement that reflects our discussions and our decision, there was a very, very large consensus.
We will be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here in One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The U.S. opens an embassy in the Solomon Islands in its latest move to counter China's push into the Pacific. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said it aims to engage further with its Pacific neighbors and provide them resources. The Solomon Islands switched allegiance from Taiwan to Beijing in 2019, threatening the close ties with the U.S. The U.S. Embassy in the capital, Honiara, is starting small with a few diplomats and a handful of local employees. U.S. actor Angelina Jolie visits Iraq's Sinjar region with activist and Nobel Prize winner Nadia Murad. That and more showbiz headlines on Showbiz Minute, courtesy of the Associated Press. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register an account now at signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Coming right up is Agenda at 8 a.m. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News, all sides, all the time.